Hello, welcome to Lemon Studios, where we talk anything and everything entertainment. I'm, of course, the Lemon himself, Zeke Lemon, and this is my review for The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 3. But before we get into that, let's get the house clean out of the way. Sorry, I'm to leave a like. Comment below and know your thoughts on The Last of Us, and of course, hit that subscribe button as it helps me grow into a YouTube career. I would greatly appreciate it. Now, all that out of the way, let's get into the review, sorry. So, this episode to me was really interesting because I really have two different minds when it comes to it. There's the mind of me who is a fan, right, of the show, of the game, what have you. Then there's the other side of the brain to me that is, like the producer, that, the booking as a wrestler, if you will, on how the structure of the match or show should go. And of course, as a fan of the video game. But we'll start with how I felt as a fan first. Because as a fan, I did truly appreciate this episode quite a bit. I liked it a lot. Now, out of the three, is it third? Yes, it is third, but that doesn't make it a bad episode. I liked how we took time to really mourn Joel, which is something we really didn't get in the game. We really just had the scene in the house, and then that was it. It was off to Seattle. And here we really got to see, Tommy coming in, washing her up, give Sarah my love. The only thing I didn't like is that they took the watch off. You never see him take the watch off, but you see it at the house. And the watch is there in the game too. But even that bugged me because I really do think Joel should have been buried with the watch. Like, he loved that watch. It was his last connection to Sarah. Let him be buried with it till, death don't do them part. They're together forever. That's the only thing that really bugged me about it. But we get that scene and that's it. We move on. But we get the scene in the house. Tommy's over there cleaning. We get Dina going, "Hey, I loved him too." Even the therapist is even coming in going, "Look, my last conversation with him went like this. She's having a sense of mourning." Then we have the town hall meeting. I really like that part because it really sets the main theme of this story, which there is plenty of themes throughout, which I do think were really present throughout this whole entire episode. Them talking about, hey, we shouldn't get revenge. We should, focus on us just because they got one of us. It sucks. I'm sorry, but hey, we need to move on. While Seth's on the other side going, nope, they took one of us. We need to get what's ours. And that conversation, especially with those two characters, with one completely neutral and one being Seth in particular, it's a very interesting device to me that I won't get into because, it's for spoilers later on down. But I do think that conversation is very prominent moving forward within it. That was really nice. I liked everything that we did with Dina and Ellie as well. Big shout out to Isabella Merced. She is doing a fantastic job, and this was the performance. I was liking her in episode 1, for sure, and episode 2 a little bit. Well, not a little bit. I liked her in episode 2. We just saw her for a little bit. But in episode 3 here is when I really fell in love with her incarnation of Dina. And I think I honestly might like her performance more than the Dina in the video game. Now, that's not a slight at the Dina in the video game. I cannot recall the voice actress's name. She did a great job with it too. But the performance here that Isabella's doing, where sure, Dina was still nice in the game as well, but she was still very rugged for the most part. While here, Dina is very bubbly for the most part. Very welcoming, I would say. But if you cross her or she feels like she needs to step to you, she will, and she will turn it on. Like that whole scene in the house where she's going, "So you're just going to go to Seattle? Okay, what route are you taking? Okay, where are your advantages?" And questioning her all these things. And then once she brings out the map, the welcoming comes in. She goes, "Look, here's what we need to do. Here's the game plan." And she's cracking jokes as she's going. I really love that. And that was really good sight of the character. Liked everything that we did in the tent. I hear some people pretty upset about her saying she's not gay. Not to give anything away, but she's not. She's bi. Isn't bi different from gay? Granted, I'm not, fluent in LGBT or anything like that, but I do believe there is a difference between bi and gay. Like, if you're not fully gay, you don't call yourself gay, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure, like, when she said that line, I had no effect on it, but I saw it a lot online. So I thought to bring it up. That it could be, I could probably have messed up by bringing it up, but hey. But I am just trying to, level the playing field, and I just don't see how her saying she's not gay automatically makes her fully straight. I do think, hey, she could be bi, and she is. So it is what it is. But yeah, that I like that whole scene as well. Compared to Kiss, oh, it's a 6, FU 6. By the way, I really wasn't that high, so there is a little bit of a cat and mouse game between them. So that's really, really interesting as well. How they got to Seattle, that was really nice. The part of me where the producer comes in, again, why I'm much more interested to see the reaction of people who didn't play the game as opposed to people who did play the game. And I said this on my TikTok, immediate reaction too, as soon as the episode was over. And of course, nothing but gamers were replying to me. And of course, it was surprisingly pretty negative. Again, I thought this episode was pretty good, but a lot of them were pretty negative, saying it was very filler-esque, which I didn't really fully get that. And we still move forward. I mean, they're moving away. They're in Seattle. It was just a little bit slower tempo. And again, it was more set on the table, which is why I do think, because like I said, this is 3rd out of the 3 episodes. And a lot of conversations I had with people after episode 2 were, I don't want to continue watching. Was this enough for you to want to keep going? I don't know. I really don't know if that remains to be seen. Again, I know where the story is going, and I really do appreciate this episode, and I think it's a really important episode. But if you are blind, and I'm trying to think of myself, if I was blind and I saw that happen, and then I watched this episode, would I still be willing to go, okay, I'm going to keep going? Or would I be like, man, this show's pissing me off now. I cannot believe this. I don't really know. Part of me wants to say, no, yeah, I'm still willing to keep it going. But again, that's all with hindsight that I'm having. So if I was completely blind, I really wouldn't know how I feel. Because a slower paced episode could be really, really detrimental. And especially with where we're going. Because with how this episode's going, and I guess minor spoiler warning for the future, but I do think you would want to know this if you haven't played the game, of how this story is going to go, especially with how the structure is. So fair warning, I don't think I'm really spoiling anything that much, but I'm going to say it anyway, just in case you want to know absolutely nothing continuing moving forward. But again, I don't think I'm really spoiling anything, particularly just with some of the structure of the episodes. With this story in the game, you go to Seattle, and it's 3 days that they are there. And each level is a new day, right? Episode 1, 2, and 3 as Ellie with Dina. Then, if we are to do that, which it looks like what we're doing, because it was Seattle day 1, and then the episode ended, and now we're on to Seattle day 2, or Seattle day 1 is the next episode. It's a little blurry to me. But if we are to do that, then by episode 6, we will be that will be the end of the 3 days, right? And especially with how day 3 ends in Seattle, then you go to episode 6. We do see Abby again. That's when if I think in the structure is right, which I hope I'm wrong, really, because as much as I would expect it. But by episode 6, we see Abby again. And we don't cut away from Abby. Ever. And we see all of Abby's 3 days. And with how day 3 of Ellie's story ends, and then going straight to Abby, I don't know, especially after what Abby has already done and with the reaction that it's been. I think we're really, really gambling. And part of me wants them to do it because I would admire it. I would respect the hell out of them doing this structure. But I do hope when we get to the next episode, it is much more linear with both Ellie and Dina and, seeing more Abby, because we're not done with Abby yet. And if it is, the next episode is day 1 officially, if my memory's a little fuzzy, is day 1 officially, then yeah, we can still do the linear path and it'll be all good. But you gotta assume this could be a Jackson storyline. Seeing the Seraphites again, that was pretty cool. Showing that dynamic as well, very humanizing them as well, because we didn't really get that in the game whatsoever. They were just villains for us to, shoot and kill and all that. So it was also cool to humanize them, like the conversation between the dad and the daughter, and then only for it to flip side, and then for them to get killed by WLF to really show how evil they are. And again, to show that perspective again, perspective is another theme within this show, because we spend 3 days with Ellie and Dina, and we're like, hell yeah. And then we see Abby's point of view and her people and their 3 days, and then, it kind of flips it on its head a little bit with how it goes. So it was cool to see that perspective from the Seraphites and see how scared they are, and also just to see how Ellie and Dina react to seeing these bodies, especially with how kids are. And then of course we're going to get the flip side later where I would assume we see how bad the Seraphites actually are, and then maybe we get just a Seraphites episode since we are splitting this up. But yeah, I really did like this episode. I didn't hate it. I know some people had some trouble with some line deliveries, especially with Dina, you know, going, "I'm not gay," which again, I'm like, she's not, she's bi. And then Ellie, and won't talk about this yet until we get later on down, but there was a line with Ellie that she says that a lot of people are very frustrated by because they think they're changing some things. I think it's very clear with how her delivery was, they're not changing anything. If you know, you know. You know exactly which line I'm talking about, and you've definitely seen it online. They didn't change anything. She was just doing, she was covering. She was doing what she thinks she has to do. But yeah, overall, great episode. I had a good time with it. Let me know what y'all think about it, especially you non-gamers. I'm really excited to see your input on this episode. Leave a like if you made it this far within a review. I do greatly appreciate it. And hit that subscribe button as I am trying to grow into my YouTube career. And until next time, guys, I'll see you here at Lemon Studios.